Hello，大家好，我係嚟自於 UBTECH Robotics 優必選科技嘅 Michael。好開心同大家今日可以分享關於 Humanoid Robot 喺 Smart Service Robot 喺成個 Social Service 上面呢啲應用。首先咧，同大家介紹下我哋 UBTECH 啦。咁相信我哋優必選咧喺舊年嘅12月嘅底咧，係首次作為一個全球第一間喺Humanoid Robot 即係人形機器人作為一個主體咧，去進入到港交所，成為全球嘅呢個人形機器人第一股。咁可能大家會有所聽聞到呢個機械人嘅呢個故事。咁今一次我會花大概20分鐘嘅時間向大家去分享下喺 UBTECH 12年嘅創業嘅呢個過程當中咧，其實我哋點樣去用創新嘅科技應用喺真正嘅一個社會服務，以及喺一個民生嘅一個領域。咁 UBTECH 我哋係以讓人形機器人咧行進去千家萬戶咧作為一個使命。咁我哋嘅目標咧，其實係令到每一個人喺社會上面，每一個家庭都可以享受到創新科技嘅一個最前沿。人形機器人帶俾大家嘅生活上面嘅一個便利化，令到大家嘅生活咧，除咗更加方便之外咧，人形機器人可以幫到大家去提高咗嗰個生活嘅質量，以及可以真真正正享受到創新科技帶俾大家嘅人性化嗰個服務嘅好重要嘅一個變化。咁呢個係我哋嗰個使命啦。我哋喺創業個12年裏邊咧，咁點解係將 UBTECH 作為我哋最重要嘅嗰個全球係得 UBTECH 喺過往嘅人形機器人咧，已經發展咗差唔多接近100年嘅時間。咁喺呢個時間入邊咧，點解係 UBTECH 可以係率先喺全球範圍內作為一間中國嘅一個創業嘅公司，甚至乎於領先於美國嘅公司咧，可以首先行到入去公眾嘅服務，首先行到去我哋一個真真正正嘅一個商業嘅應用當中廣泛嘅一個體驗咧，係好重要。咁大家睇到呢張圖咧，係好清楚睇到，其實我哋創業嘅12年嚟咧，其實我哋從一個小型嘅機器人，我哋叫 desktop 嘅 robot 咧，逐步咧去發展成為我哋從雙腳嘅機器人啦，再到我哋2019年launch 咗我哋 Walker 嘅真真正正我哋叫做 full size 嘅 Humanoid Robot，有雙手有雙臂，可以自如地行走喺唔同嘅環境下邊。然後我哋通過幾年嘅迭代咧，咁咧就其實係逐步我哋從 Walker 嘅商業服務一路咧行到去舊年我哋上市嘅嗰一年咧，即係舊年其實我哋 launch 咗真真正正面向於工業人形嘅嗰個機器人。咁依家 UBTECH 咧係以人形機器人做一個好核心嘅一個產品咧，作為一個重點嘅 R&D 嘅一個投入。咁人形機器人我哋相信大家可能喺電影上面咧都睇得唔少啦。咁大家相信好期待一個人形機器人點樣可以盡快地，好似我哋嘅 mission 一樣，就話可以盡快行入到我哋生活當中，為我哋人類去服務。咁呢個都係我哋下一階段大家睇到一個我哋真係仿真人形嘅機器人一個終極嘅目標，就話佢其實最後尾人形機器人慢慢，依家其實都比較機械嘅感覺，但係逐步再向前發展嘅時候咧，其實機械人咧會向仿真嘅人形機器人去發展，就係話其實佢同皮膚啊、同人嘅樣啊各方面其實都會係仿真度咧會更加相似，但係從另外一個方面咧，從工業嘅應用同商業服務部分咧，可能會有更加多我哋叫做個性化嘅一個服務。呢個係成個人形機器人嗰個好重要一個發展嘅一個變化。呢個係睇到我哋當時12月29號2003年咧，其實9880係我哋嘅上市嘅號碼啦。咁我哋係用咗我哋最新一代嘅工業人形嘅機器人咧，同我哋嘅創始人呢個 James Chow 咧一齊敲響咗真真正正象徵意義上面，就係話人形機器人行進到去商業化服務一個里程碑，就係一個共同同人類一齊為自己嘅上市，為一個人形機器人公司嘅上市咧，敲響呢個上市嘅一個鑼一個現象啦。咁啊，其實大家可以喺網度啦，或者其實喺唔同嘅新聞入邊咧，其實舊年應該呢個都係一個全球一個比較轟動嘅一個咁樣嘅新聞。 喺人形機器人呢個 support 下邊咧，我哋公司個定位其實係比較清晰嘅，就話其實今日嘅主題我哋講緊係點樣用人形機器人，點樣用我哋叫 smart robot、smart service 連接起嚟，去真真正正為我哋嘅社會去服務。咁 UBTECH 其實我哋喺成個戰略嘅定位上面係非常之清楚，就話我哋其實係用創新嘅科技去滿足社會一個重大嘅需求。咁呢個需求其實來自於邊度咧？咁其實係我哋係將佢放咗4個部分，就係社會重大需求同埋重大挑戰咧。依家其實係來源自於我哋對未來嘅一個教育嘅改革。我哋點樣令到下一代更加去掌握一個面向未來嘅，令到我哋可能會更加強大嘅一個技術叫做 AI。咁呢個相信大家已經係目前嚟講已經係全球最 hit 嗰個話題。除咗改革我哋教育上面嘅嘢部分咧，其實依家其實 UBTECH 喺成個 AI 嘅部分，我哋仲會有喺成個 Smart City 下邊咧，我哋有 Smart 嘅呢個 Logistics。喺智慧城市下邊咧，點樣用 AI，點樣用機械人做一個核心嘅載體咧，去幫助到我哋成個社會、成個城市嘅運行咧，更加 efficient， 更加有效率，更加令到我哋嘅生活咧嗰個除咗我哋節奏快之餘咧，其實可以享受到我哋嘅更加叫做創新科技俾我哋帶嚟嘅一個生活嘅一個便捷性。呢個其實係 Smart Logistics 個好重要嘅部分。咁喺 Smart Logistics 部分咧，其實大家應該知道，其實我哋中國咧係引領緊全世界喺 Smart Logistics 上面一個變革。因為 online 嘅呢個 e-commerce 嘅進一步放大啦，咁其實呢個部分咧都係會係變成一個全球一個最大一個AI 應用嘅市場。第3個部分就係我哋可能我哋喺香港而家目前同非常之多嘅 NGO 其實開始去合作嘅一個領域，就係我哋嘅 elderly care。喺成個 smart 嘅呢個 wellness and elderly care 部分，就係點樣去用機械人，點樣去用 AI 放落去我哋嘅樂齡嘅科技，樂齡嘅長者嘅一個服務上面，呢係我哋第3個創新嘅一個服務。第4個部分就係我哋嘅一個industry 嘅 smart 嘅support，就係無論喺嗰個工業領域啊，甚至乎我哋一啲特種嘅一啲我哋叫做機械人嘅一個需求啊，譬如話我哋可能會有專門嘅一個礦井嘅巡邏嘅機器人，我哋喺機房入邊咧有我哋嘅巡檢嘅機器人等等一啲特別嘅嗰啲 smart service 嘅robot 咧，我哋放喺第4部分。所以其實針對成個社會嘅一個因應創新科技 AI 帶嚟一個急劇嘅變化咧，我哋其實應成個社會嘅巨大嘅一個需求咧，點樣去滿足呢個真真正正嘅服務，圍繞住民生呢個問題咧，去應用呢個創新科技嚟創造我哋真真正正嘅呢個我哋叫做喺成個社會嘅服務上面嘅一個應用。呢個其實係我哋好重要嘅一個4個部分：人工智能教育，我哋嘅 Smart City 上面嘅呢個智能嘅物流，然後咧樂齡科技，然後咧商用服務。呢4個部分咧，其實係我哋真真正正係好長線地去投資嘅應用民生嘅一個4個領域。咁我逐個向大家分享下我哋每一個部分一個簡要一個説明。咁第一個咧，其實就話大家應該依家睇到ChatGPT，即係其實成個語音大模型帶俾全球嘅一啲我哋一個震撼。就一定依家其實我哋叫做未來咧，只有2種人，就一種咧其實叫做掌握咗 AI 嘅人，另外一種咧其實就話完完全全咧就係唔識得去用 AI 嘅人。咁以後呢2種人咧，其實最重要個界限咧係取決於我哋其實對於成個教育改革即係嘅一個好重要嘅目標。無論喺香港又好，或者甚至乎我哋喺中國大陸又好，甚至乎喺美國、英國、法國又好，因全球嘅大部分嘅政府咧，陸陸續續都會將 AI 嘅教育當成一個國家嘅一個好重要一個戰略嚟推進。咁就戰略推進嘅基礎下面咧，UBTECH 其實係我哋從2019年開始就同呢個 Apple 開始咗喺成個我哋叫做編程教育同埋人工智能教育嘅上面一個合作，逐步咧其實展開咗一個全球嘅一個我哋叫做 AI 教育嘅一個事業。目前嚟講咧，其實我哋喺成個全球嘅領域咧，我哋係極之少有嘅，就話我哋用機械人作為一個載體去學 AI 嘅咁樣一間公司。我哋喺全站式嘅一個基礎嘅技術上面咧，其實我哋目前嚟講咧，我哋嘅市佔率咧喺中國咧，其實係高達22.5%，我哋係中國嘅number one 嘅領導品牌啦。咁喺呢個部分，其實我哋係做咗相當多嘅工作。咁我哋可以落嚟睇一睇，就話其實我哋喺成個領先嘅呢個理念下邊咧，其實我哋係 ChatGPT 都未出嚟之前，其實我哋就已經開始咗我哋喺 AI 教育上面嘅投資。所以大家都睇到話，其實我哋喺最新嘅大家睇到呢兩個獎項啦。咁其實我哋最新喺2024年咧係攞到咗德國紅點同 IF 嘅一個全場嘅大獎。特別係其實我哋係一個全場大獎咧，係喺全球嘅6萬個獲獎嘅作品入邊咧，去揀一件係變成係一個叫做 Best of the Best 嘅一個大獎，就係呢個紅點嘅大獎咧。其實我哋其中嘅教育嘅一個套件咧，UBTECH咧係獲得咗喺6萬幾個獲獎嘅作品入邊咧脫穎而出，被選為一個全場嘅大獎。呢個其實就係點解其實我哋用機械人去學 AI 咁有用嘅好重要嘅原因咧，就係話我哋去可以通過一條片去睇下話，其實我哋 UBTECH 喺公共嘅嗰個 public service 同埋一個成個 social 嘅 support 上面咧，我哋其實點樣應用機械人去幫助大家去掌握通向未來一條鎖匙。呢條鎖匙其實就係 AI，點樣去更加好地掌握 AI 作為一個工具，係令到我哋去應對未來時代嘅一個變化。咁我哋去一去片先，咁播一播呢條片俾大家睇一睇。啱啱大家其實睇到條片咧，其實係講咁我哋喺國內一個其中一個揚州嘅 city 咧，係點樣應用我哋嘅教育基地，係喺成個 K 實驗教育以及喺我哋叫做職業教育上面咧，其實俾到唔同嘅機械人作為一個載體去學習我哋嘅 AI。咁我哋一直認為咧，其實就係話機械人咧，其實係特別係人形機械人係俾成個業界稱為我哋叫做皇冠上面嘅明珠。咁學 AI 咧，就係其實係成個 AI 嘅基本上所有嘅核心嘅技術，無論係我哋嘅視覺或者語音，甚至乎我哋嘅導航或者機器人嘅製造嘅技術、操作系統等等嘅，其實佢都會喺一個機器人上面可以得到好好嘅體驗。所以機械人就係一個學習 AI 一個最好嘅其中一個載體。咁呢個係呈現咗我哋其實喺學 AI 個部分咧，點樣用機械人去促進 AI 嘅一個普及化？點樣令到機械人學 AI，用機械人學 AI咧，喺唔同一個產業應用上面咧，令到更加多嘅職業化教育，我哋嘅對應嘅一個新型嘅工業化咧，令到大家更加快地去投入到我哋新型嘅一個產業當中去。呢個其中第一部分，我哋人工智能教育嘅其中第一個介紹。第二個部分咧，依家大家睇到呢一個部分咧，係我哋關於成個logistic 嘅一個 total solution。咁目前 UBTECH 咧，其實我哋已經喺過往嘅3年入邊咧，其實每一年都有 double digit 嘅 growth 啦。咁我哋喺3年入邊咧，已經 一步一步從無人工廠，即係我哋從好多嘅無人化嘅工廠開始做，咁搭建起從無人工廠到第二步到無人倉，就係如何將工廠無人化做到最極致嘅同時咧，慢慢咧，通過我哋嘅一個無人駕駛嘅一個無人物流車，去對接翻將所有貨物咧進入到我哋嘅無人倉。咁呢個係我哋嘅第二步。UBTECH 依家咧，其實我哋喺舊年已經 launch 咗我哋全球嘅第一架嘅L4級嘅無人駕駛嘅物流車，咁已經獲得咗我哋最大嘅新能源車廠叫比亞迪車廠嘅認證啦。咁目前已經喺車廠入邊咧係運緊貨。咁喺無人倉嘅基礎嘅第二部分咧，其實我哋會行到依家，其實我哋嘅第三部分就係我哋右下角見到無人配送，就係點樣將工廠嘅貨物咧做好咗運去無人倉。第二步，第三步咧去到無人倉咧會分發到全世界各地唔同嘅我哋叫最後尾嘅100 meters， 即係最後100米嘅一個無人嘅配送。咁呢個無人配送咧會同時由人形機器人同埋L4級嘅無人駕駛嘅呢個物流車作為一個對接，開始進行真真正正嘅我哋叫智慧城市下邊嘅智慧物流嘅一個真真正正嘅高效嘅服務。咁呢個係目前嚟講咧，係 UBTECH 係極之罕有，就係喺全世界嘅技術上面咧，其實係同時擁有人形機器人同埋 L4級嘅呢個無人物流車嘅雙向技術個好重要嘅一個領導者。咁我哋喺上個月嘅 WRC 即係世界機器人大會上面咧，其實我哋將呢個創新應用咧，其實會進一步喺我哋自己本身嘅工廠咧，會應用到唔同嘅一啲車廠入邊。咁大家睇到呢頁咧，係我哋喺大會現場咧，係同呢個奧迪一起咧做咗一個戰略性嘅一個簽約。咁現場其實我哋展示咗 UBTECH 咧運用大模型喺工廠嘅物流、車身嘅檢測，以及喺真真正正嘅人形機器人。大家睇到有兩個唔同款式嘅機人啦，佢係喺機人嘅分揀啊，機人嘅一個我哋叫搬運啊，又連接右手邊我哋嘅無人嘅物流車啊，咁會逐步咧進入到我哋中國嘅唔同嘅最先進嘅新能源車廠入邊。咁呢一頁咧，其實就係我哋同呢個奧迪簽約嘅其中一部分啦。咁目前 UBTECH 都係全球範圍內咧，其實我哋係擁有最多車廠作為 POC，即係作為一個成個人形機人進入工廠去做呢個測試嘅其中一個領導型嘅品牌。咁我哋除咗奧迪之外咧，我哋同一汽大眾嘅紅旗啦，我哋同呢個吉利啦，我哋同呢個比亞迪啦，我哋同呢個東風柳汽啦等等嘅一啲車廠咧，其實都展開咗一個好深入嘅一個戰略嘅合作，會進一步咧會提升，其實就係話我哋喺無人物流上面嘅一個好重要嘅點。咁呢個係我哋喺第二個部分，就係物流嘅進展。咁第三部分咧就會同大家介紹下我哋喺 elderly care 嘅一啲 solutions。喺成個樂齡科技上面咧，其實 UBTECH 咧，其實目前嚟講咧，我哋係喺全球係最早開始將人工智能放喺機械人嘅一個應用上面咧，大規模地喺成個樂齡科技嘅應用領域咧展開呢個實踐嘅其他間公司。咁呢一頁大家可以睇到，其實我哋係將真真正正我哋喺養老服務，即係我哋嘅樂齡服務喺養老院入邊咧，甚至乎喺社區入邊嘅一個場景嘅一個拆分。咁啊喺最前端，大家其實可以睇到話，包括我哋嘅機器人嘅迎喺前台嘅 front desk 嘅迎賓啊、資訊服務啊，再到我哋進入到我哋嘅真真正正嘅養老嘅場合，無論係送餐，無論係我哋嘅樂齡嘅老人家其中一個智慧嘅輪椅，我哋嘅一個防跌倒一啲裝置，以及喺我哋喺成個營養健康上面個配餐嘅服務等等嘅成套嘅 system 咧，其實係我哋而家目前喺成個樂齡科技上面咧，喺從2019年開始展開一個好重要嘅一個平台化嘅服務。喺呢個平台上面咧，其實我哋咧會將 AIoT 會將我哋嘅目前嚟講最領先嘅 AI 嘅包括大模型嘅服務啦，大模型服務其實會更加容易去促進我哋其實對更加多嘅老人家 甚至乎我哋唔同嘅掌握唔同語言嘅長者，全球來自可能講英文又好，講西班牙文又好，講粵語又好，講普通話又好，咁其實佢喺語音大模型嘅支持下邊咧，係對我哋進行樂齡服務嘅所有嘅從業嘅一啲工作人員咧，會利用我哋嘅 AI 技術咧，更加好地去閱讀同理解佢哋喺成個情緒嘅表達，喺成個語言嘅溝通上面嘅進一步嘅一啲分析嘅服務。咁除咗 AIoT， 即係我哋喺防跌倒啊，喺大模型上面嘅語言嘅溝通交流互動啊，仲有其實我哋仲有好多一啲我哋叫做smart device， 就係話我哋有非常之多嘅 AI embodied 嘅一啲 device， 包括話我哋嘅智慧嘅病床啊，我哋對佢全天候監測嘅一啲我哋叫做穿戴型嘅設備啊等等，咁其實都會喺我哋成個樂齡科技嘅 platform 上面咧，會擺咗入去進行我哋叫做7個場景嘅服務，包括話我哋嘅營養健康，包括話我哋嘅我哋叫做佢嗰個康復嘅管理，包括日常嘅一啲危急嘅 emergency 嘅一啲預警警報等等嘅呢個部分咧，咁其實我哋係真真正正係做到話用我哋嘅 AIoT 又好，用到我哋依家嘅robot 作為一個載體又好，去運用呢個 AI 作為一個核心嘅技術，去幫到我哋嘅樂齡科技嘅從業者咧，喺唔同嘅領域開始去做更加多嘅我哋叫做智慧化嘅呢個服務。呢個目前嚟講咧，我哋係從2019年開始咧，係從美國開始去做。咁我想都係俾條片俾大家睇一睇，就話其實我哋喺呢方面嘅進展咧，點樣係應用喺唔同嘅機械人上面，咁可以從呢條片入邊咧，係睇到大概一個發展嘅一個方向。
當前我國養老存在供需不匹配、養老服務質量差，解決好千家萬戶關切的養老問題，是家事，也是國事。深入實施數字經濟是我國的重大發展戰略。國家多部委發布一系列促進智慧康養產業發展政策，解決社會重大民生問題。優必選科技推出智慧康養全場景解決方案，以智能機器人為載體，人工智能為核心，通過智慧康養雲平台，打造融合機器人以及智能設備等的物聯網絡，實現全方位協同工作，從適老化到智老化，實現個人、家庭、養老機構、社區及專業醫療機構間的信息互聯互通和資源優化配置，為長者提供高品質幸福生活。相比傳統養老模式，優必選智慧康養更重需求、重服務、重場景。其他 AI 服務場景將貫穿居家、社區、機構，提供定制化方案。在運營管理場景中，可提供數字化運營管理和智慧清潔等服務，幫助提升運作效率，提升服務質量。在安全保障場景中，提供智慧跌倒預警和防走失監測預警等服務，有效降低意外事故風險，提升照護質量。在健康管理場景中，為長者提供慢病管理、健身運動等個性化健康干預方案。在生活護理場景中，提供智慧物品配送和無障礙出行服務，降低護理強度，提高長者幸福感。在醫療康復場景中，提供康復訓練和智慧查房等服務，減輕護理壓力，提供工作效率。在精神文化場景中，精神慰藉和興趣活動等服務，讓長者在高品質的養老服務之外，還能享受精神樂趣。在營養膳食場景中，提供智慧送餐和營養管理等服務，幫助長者維持營養均衡。自全球發布以來，優必選科技先後與日本媒體、招商關儀、國藥康養、光大養老、悅城養老、北京醫院、港大醫院以及泰山醫院等居家、社區及機構合作， 一起用 AI 共創智慧康養新生態。優在關愛，康養必選。
好啦，咁我哋睇完條片咧，大家可以睇到入邊咧，其實會出現到唔同類別嘅呢個機械人啦，包括可能我哋有無菌式嘅一個帶機械臂嘅呢個送藥嘅一個基站啦，我哋有依家大家日常可能睇到越嚟越普遍嘅一個送餐嘅機器人啦，有我哋嘅長者康養嘅一個服務一個機械人啦，我哋有智能嘅輪椅啦，帶 AI 嘅功能嘅輪椅啦。咁我哋仲有一個陪伴嘅機器人啦，平時可以同長者去進行呢個傾偈啊、視頻服務啊、同屋企嘅聯絡啊等等嘅呢啲服務咧，咁啊逐步咧，其實機械人咧係進入到我哋嘅社區，進入到我哋嘅唔同嘅一啲養老嘅機構入邊。咁依家我哋其實國內嘅呢個養老政策咧叫做9073，其實90%咧係居家養老。咁其實我哋都會有相當多嘅一啲 AIoT 嘅服務咧，進入到我哋一個千家萬戶，咁其實就除咗機構之外咧，咁其實90%嘅呢個家居嘅養老咧，咁其實都係個好重要嘅我哋目前一個發展嘅目標。咁我哋希望喺大陸呢一段經驗，同埋我哋喺 LA 作為一個北美研究院一個我哋叫長遠嘅研究嘅發展咧，咁其實我都希望將全球最領先嘅一個創新科技咧，擺咗落香港依家我哋嘅一個樂齡科技嘅服務當中。所以未來我哋希望可以同在座各位啦，嗰個 NGO 啊、社聯啊，好多社會嘅一啲服務嘅機構啊，同埋我哋嘅政府嘅組織啊等等咧，可以去我哋叫成立我哋一個智慧康養一個大嘅平台，將我哋真真正正嘅創新嘅科技嘅服務咧，可以利用唔同嘅我哋叫做康養場景嘅應用服務咧，逐步可以變成係一個大嘅網絡，可以喺唔同嘅區域、唔同嘅社區、唔同嘅家庭，可以進一步咧，可以俾到大家真真正正嘅創新科技嘅一個服務。咁成個 platform 咧，其實我哋會係包含呢部分啦，就我哋叫做有醫啦、有養啦。我哋有住啦，有食啦，我哋有出行服務啦，有康養嘅管理啦，有entertainment 即係有娛樂嘅互動啦，甚至乎有安全嘅保障啦。咁我哋成個樂齡嘅涵括嘅呢個 platform 咧，都係喺呢個範疇入邊咧，會有唔同嘅一個觸達，就係喺醫療管理上面，可能我哋有一個好重要嘅一個部分，就係話點樣用機械人喺社區又好，喺養老院又好，咁其實喺成個送藥嘅管理上面，喺成個我哋成個藥嘅一個配送上面咧，咁其實呢個其中係作為一個 example 咧，可以睇到我哋嘅無菌式嘅機器人帶機械臂嘅，咁其實佢就已經係可以將我哋成個流程咧，從我哋嘅書面化嘅服務，好多依家我哋嘅養老院仲係停留喺成個紙質嘅一個記錄上面啦，我哋好多派藥啊，我哋好多記錄啊，同我哋都仲係比較紙質化嘅。咁點樣變成係一個全面嘅智能化服務咧？咁其實我哋就會從呢個部分去着手，希望同大家去應用我哋一個創新嘅科技。咁無論係醫又好，康養服務又好，我哋嘅安全管理又好，甚至乎我哋嘅膳食營養健康又好，咁其實都係希望進一步咧，咁其實係可以令到大家去發展到我哋嘅一個樂齡科技進駐香港，喺香港作為一個好重要嘅我哋叫做特首嘅施政方針，將樂齡科技變成一個好重要嘅我哋嘅創新科技嘅應用領域嘅基礎上面咧，去發展我哋樂齡科技嘅應用發展啊。咁講完4個部分嘅呢個應用咧，就從智慧教又好，我哋嘅嗰個物流智慧物流又好，然後同我哋嘅創新嘅嗰個樂齡科技服務又好，咁其實我哋都睇到機械人咧會逐步咧行到我哋嘅千家萬戶。咁最後咧，人形機器人咧，其實我哋會喺工業應用場景、喺商業應用場景，甚至乎喺我哋家庭嘅呢個陪伴場景咧，其實咧都會陸續咧會令到我哋嘅生活更加嘅便捷性，更加嘅人性化。 咁樣嘅時候，我哋嘅成個生活先會變得更加嘅美好。咁呢個係我哋真真正正喺成個人形機械人發展嘅上面俾到大家嘅一個願景嘅推動。咁作為全球人形機械人嘅領導者之一嘅 UBTECH，我哋嘅優必選科技咧，我哋係用機器人走到千家萬戶，作為一個我哋夢想嘅驅動咧。將呢個創新性嘅服務，希望同大家進行更加多深入嘅一個探討，更加多深入嘅一個合作，更加多深入嘅協作。我哋希望進一步咧，可以喺香港搭建真真正正嘅用機械人作為一個核心嘅載體，用 AI 作為一個核心嘅技術，去服務於香港嘅所有市民，令到大家嘅生活更加美好。今日我分享咧就係到此，咁希望係有機會同大家進行更加多嘅深入嘅交流。多謝大家。
多謝晒 Michael。咁啊，我哋而家睇一睇線上嘅問題啊。咁啊，第一條問題，喺內地康養服務推動智能機械人技術方面咧，可唔可以分享一下更加多針對使用者培訓嘅經驗，以協助長者同埋照顧者適應新嘅技術咧？Hello Michael。
係，早晨。
早晨。
係，我見到主持人嘅第一條問題啊，就係想了解多啲喺智能機械人技術上面，針對使用者一啲培訓嘅經驗，或者點樣幫助啲長者去適應一啲新嘅一啲創新科技嘅服務，係咪？
係。
OK，內地咧其實就國家其實非常之重視成個樂齡科技喺內地咧叫做智慧康養。咁其實喺成個城市嘅智能化嘅基礎上面咧，我哋叫做新基建嘅基礎上面咧，去投入咗好多針對一啲長者，甚至乎一啲我哋叫做社區服務一啲咁樣嘅support 嘅支持。咁喺呢部分係有兩個部分，第一部分咧就係針對使用者嘅培訓咧，第一個就係點樣令到佢哋更加去適應我哋叫做從一啲智能化嘅服務一啲適應上面啦，因為長者畢竟係對於成個數字化嘅產品，甚至乎一啲智能化，甚至乎更加先進嘅機械人嘅部分咧，佢其實係需要好似我哋去培訓一啲長者使用呢個智能手機一樣。咁其實佢係會有更加多嘅時間要投入去培訓入邊嘅。首先呢個部分咧就係話國家喺內地嘅長者嘅部分咧係有一個好清楚嘅政策叫9073。咁啊9073嘅90%咧係針對住家咧，即係喺家庭嘅長者啦。7咧係針對於嗰個社區 community 嘅我哋叫社區化嘅服務。3% 咧係一啲我哋叫做院舍嘅服務。咁呢個部分咧係有唔同嘅一啲培訓嘅 support 嘅。針對家庭嘅用戶咧更加多咧，其實係第一就會通過我哋叫做街道啦。喺內地其實係好重視成個社區去 support 嗰個，特別係住家嘅一啲長者，因為住家長者咧佢更加多可能甚至乎有啲長者係唔係咁方便出門嘅，落樓梯都唔係咁方便啦，仲係有一啲比較唔係家家戶戶都有電梯嘅情況啦，甚至乎可能有一啲比較舊嘅一啲住宅區啦。咁呢個部分咧係更加多嘅係通過培訓我哋叫做街道嘅一啲義工、一啲 NGO 嗰啲 support 嘅一啲我哋叫做志願者，去幫助我哋有90%嘅喺住家嗰啲長者嘅一啲咁樣嘅老人家。咁呢個部分係90%嘅部分。咁其實依家90%嗰個部分咧，我可以 for example 就話特別我哋喺內地又好，喺香港又好，其實都有一個叫做平安鐘啦。咁其實平安鐘咧其實都唔夠嘅，依家其實發現。咁其實further step 咧就係喺內地咧會做更加多嘅 AIoT 嘅一啲針對呢90%嘅用戶咧去做好多，甚至乎喺家庭入邊放跌倒嘅裝置，直接聯繫到 我哋嘅嗰個社區，或者直接聯繫到我哋嘅街道嘅應急中心。咁呢個其實係依家喺內地可能係大部分社區而家比較 focus 喺做緊嘅部分，係話喺好多老人家冇足夠嘅資源去 support 佢哋睇到佢哋嘅日常嘅安居嘅情況下面咧，點樣我哋叫做令到嗰個即係可能單個老人嘅一啲居住嘅環境下邊咧，點樣令到我哋更加多受到安全嘅一啲照顧，同埋一啲及時嗰啲救援。咁呢個係其實係即係 90% of the community， 即係喺居家部分去做嘅嘢。咁剩翻7+3咧，更加多其實就係喺嗰個院舍或者喺社區咧。咁其實就係有好多日常嘅時間，譬如話每日喺社區咧，其實佢有老年人嘅長者活動中心，或者喺院舍入邊咧，朝頭早咧，佢哋食完早餐之後咧，或者甚至乎下晝瞓完晏之後咧，咁其實都有專門嘅培訓嘅一啲時間，令到佢哋接觸同埋使用呢啲我哋叫做相對佢嚟講係比較創新科技嘅一啲產品。咁呢個其實係分開，基本上係分開2個部分嚟進行。
明白，多謝你呢個咁詳細嘅回答啦，讓我哋知道其實嗰個內地而家嗰個嘅即係政策或者係嗰個幫助點樣幫助老人家喺佢呢個即係院舍或者係屋企嘅嗰個支援。第二條問題咧，我哋嘅觀眾問，內地同香港兩地嘅社會服務環境咧都唔同啦，咁兩地應用或者科技推動上面咧有咩挑戰或者有咩唔同嘅考量咧？對於未來嘅科技應用同發展又有啲咩展望呢？
好嘅，內地同喺香港喺科技成個我哋叫做創新科技嘅上面嘅挑戰咧，咁其實係主要有3個部分嘅一個重要嘅挑戰啦。第一挑戰就好似啱啱主持人或者係觀眾問到嗰個核心嗰個問題，就話其實喺創新科技嘅應用上面咧。咁其實仲係需要大量嘅一啲我哋叫做應用嘅場景嘅試用嘅。咁呢個試用嘅過程中咧，其實有包括我哋有一啲我哋叫創新科技嘅一啲培訓啦。咁令到院舍又好，令到義工又好，甚至乎令到啲長者又好，咁樣點樣去令到佢哋咧去接受一啲創新科技嘅服務。咁機械人咧，其實就有一啲先天嘅一啲優勢啦。咁就係機械人可以區別於其他一啲創新科技咧，機械人係好容易做到我哋叫做同長者之間嘅一啲天然嘅一啲互動。因為機械人咧，無論係我哋叫 desktop， 即係桌面型嘅一啲小嘅機械人，佢有別於音箱啦。咁其實佢係可以去喐啊，可以去跳舞啊，可以唱歌啊，可以去同我哋嘅長者去做對話。咁呢個部分咧，其實先天係會有比較多嘅我哋叫天然嘅互動喺個部分。咁呢個部分其實就會克服咗部分我哋長者對於一啲創新科技產品嘅一啲抗拒啦。咁呢個其實係本身呢個行業嘅一啲先天嘅優勢。但係個挑戰就在於好多創新科技嘅產品咧都要連接呢個高速嘅網絡。依家目前嚟講，其實有部分嘅家庭甚至乎啲部分嘅院舍咧，咁嗰個網絡嘅嗰個覆蓋服務咧，其實係仲係有待於提高嘅。咁呢個其實係我哋喺做呢個市場嘅調研同埋實質嘅一個我哋院舍嘅部署嘅時候咧，都會發現到相同一啲，無論係內地又好，香港又好，都係有同樣嘅服務，就係點樣令到新一代嘅智能化嘅網絡咧，可以覆蓋到所有老人家嘅活動同生活嘅一個場景入邊，咁去 support 創新嗰個產品嘅應用。呢個其實係一個其中一個需要時間去一步一步去部署、去覆蓋完備嘅其中一個重大嘅挑戰。第二個部分咧就係隨住場景嘅一個部分嘅進入之後啦，咁其實係會有成個系統嘅對接。系統對接係需要相當長嘅時間同埋相當多嘅功夫。咁因為其實如果從院舍嚟講咧，就係院舍其實好原先嘅成個 operation 嘅 system 咧，咁其實都比較相對傳統啲嘅。咁同時有大部分嘅一啲 operation 嘅 process 咧仲係用緊人工嘅，咁呢個部分都係需要同步到成個自動化到智能化嘅系統個我哋叫 transition 當中啦。咁點樣去慢慢過渡到全部智能化？因為機械人最後尾會係實現到全部我哋叫做運營同埋管理，甚至乎一個服務嘅一個全智能化嘅一個過程。咁呢個過程中就係逐步其實係去針對唔同嘅院舍、針對唔同嘅社區嘅成個運營嘅系統咧，去做成個數碼化、數字化到智能化嘅一個過程。呢個第二大嘅挑戰。第三大嘅挑戰就係喺呢個過程中，因為都係有唔同嘅一啲從事呢個行業嘅我哋嘅從業嘅業者啦，咁都要慢慢去接受培訓，去適應一個全新嘅我哋叫做全自動化、全智能化嘅系統。點樣去幫助佢哋去提高日常管理同埋服務嘅一個效率？呢三個係我哋針對目前嚟講睇到最大嘅挑戰。當然內地又好，同埋香港又好，甚至乎全世界又好，依家所有老齡化社會面臨到最大其中一個問題咧，就希望更加多嘅我哋嘅從業人員可以投入到我哋呢個行業當中，即係無論係從了解創新科技嘅人，或者掌握創新科技一啲從業人員咧，希望招聘到更加多知道了解可以去運營創新科技嘅呢啲人才入到我哋呢個行業，都係一個另外一個比較 critical 嘅 challenge。
明白，多謝晒 Michael。咁啊，相信你喺機械人同埋 AI 嘅豐富經驗咧，都可以帶俾觀眾咧更加多嘅啟發。咁啊，好多謝 Michael。
Hello everyone, good day to you, wherever you're tuning from, and whatever time it is that you're tuning from as well. I hope that the sharings that myself and the other speakers are sharing will help open your mind on how technology can really aid in the gerontology space. For myself, I'm John Paulo. I'm the Business Development Manager of Dex-Lab, and I'm going to be sharing with you some insights of how our company has entered into this industry and how we have viewed the how technology, AI, other forms of robotics can influence and help make lives better for both the clients and the staff there as well. And it's an honor to be invited as well to the Gerontech and Innovation Expo and Summit. And I hope that all these sharings will bless your heart as well. So just to give you guys some disclaimer, due to some confidentiality issues, there are some things that I am unable to share in such a public forum. But if you do have any specific questions, you may address it later on in the Q&A session. And you may also reach out to me via email, which I will show later, for any kind of hard-hitting questions that you may have specific for your own target audience or your own country, just to give you guys a disclaimer. So just to share a little bit about what Dex-Lab is all about. Dex-Lab is a Singaporean robotics and artificial intelligence company. We started as a research project with Professor Nadia Talman, who is a leading robotics professor and expert from Switzerland. And we started as a research project, and we came about to ourselves and thought, what is the best way that we can reach society using robotics? And that's where we felt that healthcare and the elder care scene was something that was really quite behind in terms of technological advances. And I'll share more about that journey later. But aside from just elder care services or our Dexy robot, which I will show you, we have also been experimenting and looking at different kinds of applications that we can use our robotics for. To give you guys an overview, I'll start by sharing about what are the current residential care conditions in Singapore. I understand it's different across different cultures, different countries. So you may take this with a pinch of salt and see how you can apply it to your different demographies as well. I'll also share about the future growth of aging population and why organizations need to be proactive in adopting technology. I'll also share the considerations that we took as a company in how we can implement robotic solutions. And then I'll share about Dexy, which is the intervention solution that we created for the elder and dementia care scene, followed by some success factors and metrics that we have discovered along our journey, and some recommendations and advice or considerations for you to think about and how you can apply this into your own context as well. So I want you to imagine this. Imagine you're in a job where you have to handle 10, 20 things at once. You have people leaving and coming in, a high turnover rate, and also very, very difficult and demanding clients. Now, this may sound like, every job that you can think of, but I want to tell you that this is actually a very, very real problem in the elder care scene. And I'm sure most of you who are listening in know firsthand how difficult life can be for the healthcare staff. And so just to share a little context about how Singapore's current conduct is like, of course, it varies from organization to organization, different manpower scales as well. But from what we observe, when healthcare staff have to conduct big group exercises, group games for cognitive therapy, or any other form of engagement with dementia patients and elder patients, it often takes 3 to 4 people or 3 to 5 people to plan as well as conduct, as you can see in the images below. And that becomes a problem because, as I mentioned, they do have like 10 and 20 other things to think about, like feeding, bathing, cleaning. You can see down the list. And oftentimes there are some immediate issues that come up, like someone falls down, someone vomits, and one staff then has to go away and handle that, which then disrupts the form of physical and cognitive therapy that these people need, which then, instead of being results driven, you then become task driven, as I'll share again in this slide here. So this is a very common burnout flowchart that you can see, where there's two main factors. One is poor organizational context, where there's weak leadership or limited resources, but there's also inherent stresses, such as, working short staff, which is quite common in many industries, and having to do, as I mentioned earlier, many immediate tasks, things that are urgent. So you have to drop everything and go, but you still have your administrative duties, and, it's just utter chaos at times. And this would lead to, a low job satisfaction and potential burnout, which increases, cynicism for your job and emotional exhaustion. And I mean, that would be okay, I would say, if I were to say it in some contexts, where, if you have one bad day, you can always pick up the slack in the next day. But I think the problem is in the healthcare, in the elder care scene, one bad day could equate to consequences, massive consequences, especially for people living with dementia or people with high care needs. And then the problem then becomes shifting from, results-oriented approaches to then becoming task-oriented, which then may lead to, bad outcomes, which may even lead to significant impact on people's quality of life. And that's something that we wanted to really address as a company. I'm going to show you guys a short video, and this is to really give you guys a snapshot of how the elder care scene is like in Singapore, and I'm sure in other countries as well.
How bad is the burnout within the sector?
I'm a clinician, so I think burnout is real. We have all had colleagues who have actually been through burnout where they needed a couple of days off just to rest, refocus.
Is it something that's particularly bad in geriatric wards?
It's really quite intense in the hospitals, in the nursing homes. It's the constant on your feet kind of thing, trying to be attentive all the time, not being able to really let your guard down.
What are people's reactions when you tell them that you look after elderly?
They were shocked. Every day when I go home, some people say, "Don't can't you go back and bathe first?" It's very dirty. They will think like that. Because they got a lot of 传染病之类的东西。
Okay, so they are afraid that the elderly may have some kind of infectious disease?
Yes, yes.
Do you think that you are understaffed?
Yes. We short a lot of staff. We need a local staff. 别的国家的 staff 跟他们沟通，他们直接不要沟通。Then they look for me like 比较容易沟通的一个 staff. So every time I need to run out and run down because I'm a local staff. 2 staff in charge of 1 level. So need to prepare for the breakfast, lunch, toilet, changing the diaper. So 2 person for whole day. 想到就累。
如果想到就很累 Why are you still in this job?
Because I love this job. It's my heart and the elderly. Yeah.
As you can see, we can see that a lot of people in the healthcare industry really do like what they're doing, and they see a very high purpose for reaching the demographics that they're reaching to, whether it be people with active minds in the elder care age, or people who have higher care needs, like people with dementia or any other form of disabilities. And all these are just the tip of the iceberg. There are many other underlying factors as well that are challenges for people in long-term care or intermediate care. Where there's a shortage of manpower, even the quality of training and competency of the staff, as well as the resources that they have to manage for manpower, for technology, for other kinds of organizational structure, and the list can go on and on and on. And so as a company, we're seeing all these problems, we wanted to narrow it down to 6 key factors, which is how we wanted to solve creating interactive content. I'll show in a video later about how a person living with dementia, for every minute they're not engaged, is actually, immeasurable consequences that happens in their mind. So we wanted to create content that was bespoke and really specific to their needs cognitively and physically. We also wanted to ensure that they're constantly engaged. And as I mentioned earlier, now that it takes like 3 to 4 staff to constantly monitor and run these programs, which sometimes tires them out in the day, or even worse, they're unable to track progress and coach the elderly because they're just focused on fulfilling the task and having to think about 10 other things in their mind. We also wanted to look at how we can augment manpower shortages by introducing technology without the need to replace them, while also making it a long-term investment for the future. So understanding that organizations like these sometimes have to take resources and costs into a high factor of decision-making. We also wanted to provide a consistent companionship for elderly who may feel lonely and left alone in these residential care houses, homes. And we also wanted to ensure that, the next step of that, we wanted to have some sort of mental health detection where they're able to kind of converse, able to kind of relieve whatever stresses that they have in their minds. And this is mainly for the elderly itself, but we also wanted it to be an outlet for the staff also to be able to interact with the robot in their spare time, just to be able to feel that they're not alone in their journey. There is a technological tool that they can use to help them out. So we saw about the current context of what most healthcare organizations are facing, and there is an immediate concern as well. When 2050 is estimated by the World Health Organization that up to 2.1 billion in this world will actually be of age of 65 and above, and that's a 300% increase. And not just that, people are living longer because of technology, which means the amount of elderly that will be entering into residential care units will be a lot higher, and the ratio of able, healthy working adults to the clientele of an elderly age, the ratio will also be of a higher disparity as well. So there is a need now, and there is also a need that's going to be growing in the future, which is what our company really took on in our purpose. And we decided that we wanted to be a company that does technology for good. So from all those problems that we have shared earlier, we wanted to create solutions that augment manpower difficulties while still retaining the human element. We don't want to feed into that misconception or give people the fear that any kind of technological solution will threaten their job or remove them, because we feel that in the healthcare industry, especially in the elder care industry, the human element is the most essential, and humans should reach humans, not the other way, not technology to humans. We also wanted to remove the misconception that only executives at the high level with who hold all the company's funds should think about these solutions. We want to have this purpose driven within the healthcare workers on the ground and have them think, what are the kind of problems that need solving and how can this technology help them? And we also wanted to remove and address the misconception that implementing any kind of tech solutions is too complicated, too difficult to operate, and overall might just become a white elephant in the room. So as I mentioned as well, just another stat to share with you, that 33% is what's the forecasted ratio of 65 or older to working adults. So that's almost 1 in every 3. And I think that that number will just continue to rise and rise and rise, as the years go by. But we found out as well, surprising news, that only 39% of organizations have been adopting any form of AI or robotic solutions. So other forms of, what else did we consider for robotics implementation? We considered 3 things. 1, will the healthcare worker feel affected, or will they feel that their job is secure and that they are still essential? So can this tool actually help them in their job rather than replace them? Will the clientele, which is the elderly who are in the homes, will they feel that this robot is too intrusive, too scary? Will they actually want to interact with a robot like this? And the third one is on the executive level, is this something that's sustainable for them financially, but also from a manpower standpoint? Is this something that will actually be helpful for them within the next 5 to 10 years? So other forms of considerations that we also included were ethical use. Is there any form of personal data protection that's there? What about cost and accessibility? As I mentioned, is it financially viable? If I just get 1 unit or 2 units, is it something that helps my whole organization, or is it just going to be a hindrance? Also, how does it integrate with the current routines of the healthcare workers on the ground? And how can staff be trained properly in such a technology that is easy for them to use rather than difficult and they set it aside? We also wanted to create user-centric designs. I think this is an important thing to know, that the design of the robot has to be something that fits well into any system, so that it's something that's easy to adopt. So we went to do some research together with our partners, Goshen Consultancy, and together with Professor Nadia as well. We did a research paper on how do people actually relate well to a human-looking robot. So this is the D at the top left, which is how Dexy's inspiration actually branched out from. And we found that actually interacting with a robot was actually something that people were into. You know, it was human-like enough for people to feel an emotional connection, but not too human-like where it tramples upon the uncanny value, where people feel like, oh, I know it's human, but it still looks very strange to me, and they get scared. So for most of us who have a very high cognitive level, we may view these robots and be like, oh, you know, that looks kind of creepy, kind of scary. But to an elderly of an advanced age, actually when they see it, sometimes they associate it as one of their own, or like, you know, someone who has been in the home with them for a while. And so that helps with the emotional connection as well. So the mission of our creation was to create a solution that was sustainable for the workforce, and not just to invent robots to replace the healthcare worker, but to augment their manpower shortages. So we started by creating Dexy from the research that we did previously. And within the first year of adoption, we've actually been able to partner with many key partners and have Dexy on the ground to be able to conduct the routines and exercises and cognitive games that they normally would. And we found very, very positive results, which I'll share more later as well. So this is Dexy, which is our solution to the dementia care that we face in the residential homes that we see in Singapore. So it is a humanoid that helps to facilitate therapy and activities, which frees up the staff for higher care needs. And so Dexy is able to the staff is able to employ Dexy to be able to interact and engage and run the programs for the elderly without them having to be the ones that have to monitor progress and then yet still be able to conduct the activity itself. And we created it in a plug and play way, which I'll share more later as well, so that's easy for the staff to pick up. So Dexy's key functions is, as I mentioned, to conduct group-based games. So she conducts up to 15 to 30 people in one group. She does sing-along sessions as well, which is an exercise routine, and she can converse with the elderly. And this really helps them in their engagement, but also allows them to be on the road to recovery as they go through cognitive and physical therapy. And the good thing about employing robotics of this kind is that it's consistent, because all you need to do is a push of a button. It's the same routine. And for people who are in about older age or people living with dementia, consistency is very important in terms of recovery. So all this was developed internally by creating a software that was plug and play. So if you think about something similar like a Spotify playlist, you plug it in, connect it to the internet, you press a button, and it plays, right? So we wanted that to be the center of how we create things, a plug and play, easily interface, so that healthcare staff don't feel overburdened or overwhelmed with how to operate a device as such. So we wanted to make it as easy as we can. The whole point is to lighten their workload. So the philosophy, I'll just briefly touch on this, is really to eliminate human biases, because we know humans are prone to tiredness, frustration, impatience. And so when they're conducting activities or speaking with the elderly, sometimes a bad day could lead to a bad conversation. So we wanted to eliminate that by having a robot do a consistent form of engagement. And without removing the human element, the staff are still there, but they're able to observe progress instead. As I mentioned about consistent performance, that repetitiveness is something that really helps in recovery and rehabilitation. We also wanted to have a tool that healthcare staff can use to have increased engagement with end users and to understand these users better as we take in the data that's coming in, feedback off the ground. We then use it to develop the program and product better as well. Now I'm going to share with you another video just to show you how the Dexy's impact has been in the residential care homes.
我每天跟 Dex 唱歌，唱得很開心。
唱歌唱得幾好喎！唱歌、玩遊戲、exercise 運動，最過很快，很高興。
現在有的戲來了，全部的步驟都很好，所以現在可以真的開懷大笑。Thank you.
So how we implement Dex-C in the homes is we first spot, we have organizations and we start a conversation with them. We then align our targets together and what are the priority objectives that a robotic solution can solve. We then do a pre-implementation study to see what's the current environment and what are the current routines. We also conduct staff training in order for the staff to be able to know how to handle the robot installation and operation on a daily basis. And once it's been deployed, we observe Dex-C for about 4 to 6 weeks to see what's the effectiveness. And from there, we do development based on those results to see, is there a way that we can augment the manpower even better? Is there a new kind of exercise routine or other kind of programming that could help better increase the success rate of Dex-C within that context as well? So here's some of the success metrics. Really, we are quite blessed with the results and we're thankful for the partners who are working closely with us. Where we found that we'll be able to increase the manpower hours by about 4 to 6 hours, where now manpower is able to be freed up for higher care needs. We've been able to help retain the workforce by helping to minimize the impact of job dissatisfaction as well. So mainly to meet the 3 needs, which is the increase in organizational impact, staff impact and client impact. And we're grateful that we have met all 3 of these KPIs that we set out to do. So just to close off, my last 2 slides will be just to show you guys some of the other results, which is in the end of it all, we were able to produce happier elderly residents, happier caregivers, happier environment. And I think that is the way that technology should be implemented. And I think that if technology is able to produce results that benefit both the organization, the staff, and the clients, then I think that is a solution that is worth considering as an investment for the long term. So to end it off, just some considerations and takeaways for everyone who's listening here. I think that while technology can be scary and to some it may be costly, I would like to challenge you to think of it as investment for the long term. All right. So carrying costs will continue to remain high, as long as the needs continue to rise. But if you look at technology as a way that you can boost your staff, not just in their effectiveness, but also in their satisfaction with their jobs, I think you look at it as an investment on the long term. Take the hit early, but know that this is something that will really help boost your organization for the next 5 to 10 years onwards. We also want to encourage all organizations to grant ownership to your ground staff from the ground up. Understand what is their daily struggles and how technological solutions such as robotics or AI or other forms can really help make their workloads much easier and keep them happy in their jobs. As a company, it was easy for us to also look at all the different problems and try to do robotics that could carry things, deliver medication, scan your brain, scan whatever. But I think it's important for everyone to know specific pain points. Don't try to create a super technology that solves everything. Create something that meets one need specifically and well. The next thing as well is to look at recovery with technology. To look at technology as a tool for recovery and not just rehabilitation. So we wanted to create a solution, or you should look for solutions that create avenues that your team can coach, rather than be the one that is bogged down with all the data analytics, bogged down with all the nitty-gritty of having to do the exercises themselves. I think it's important for the staff to look at a strategy of how we can recover someone, rather than look at just finding a way to entertain them on a day-to-day basis and doing things just for the sake of doing. It's important to be open-minded about technology as well. I share about the carrying costs and how we should look at it as an investment. And lastly, I think you should view robotics as an external arm of your workforce and not something that is a replacement. So I know that I've shared quite a bit. I hope that you managed to download and understand everything that I've shared. But if not, of course, you can always feel free to reach out to me to my email, john.paulo@dexlab.com. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. And also later in the live Q&A, I would love to be able to share my thoughts on some of the key questions that you might have. So thank you so much for your time. And again, it's an honor to be speaking to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, John Paulo, for the in-depth sharing and introduce us to the greatest singer, Dex-C. Let's have some questions from our floor. First question, What are the main obstacles care facilities face when integrating DEXI into their existing routines and workflows, and how were they resolved? Hi, John.
Hi, everyone. It's great to be here. Thank you for the opportunity to hear your questions. I look forward to answering them as well. So I think it's a good question. And I think every care facility does have its own various different, I would say, issues and obstacles to overcome. Some are bigger with more manpower and resources, bigger space as well. Some are smaller with lesser manpower resources, lesser space. And so I guess one of the main common concerns is really ensuring that the robot does not how do I say it, replace the human worker. So I think that's one of the main concerns in integrating into the existing routines. Is there a good balance between integrating a technology like a robot and while also ensuring that the time spent by the current workers is also responsibly spent? I think another problem that a lot of care facilities also face is, as I mentioned, space, right? And ensuring that there is simple things like a consistent internet signal, even things like screens that are big enough to showcase even the cognitive games, even the sing-along sessions. And I guess another common obstacle that these organizations also face is also the concern of the current elderly's families. Are they comfortable with having the elderly speak to a robot? There's always concerns about personal data protection, as well as is there any recording and such and such. So how would they resolve is that we really sat down with the care team as well as the executive level to address all the concerns really in a very detailed level. So down from the macro all the way down to the micro. So when it comes to, let's say, for example, the first one was ensuring that it integrates well into the routines. We look through the current routines together with our partners, Goshen Consultancy. We look through the current routines of the team, the current manpower, and then we see what are the ways that we can best augment the amount of manpower they have based on the amount of roles and tasks that they have to do in the day. And how much does DEXI's impact play a role in the overall scheme of how their daily routines work? So we make sure that we address every single possible scenario, and we try to augment DEXI or any form of robotics to come in and seamlessly integrate with them. When it comes to space, we also take a look at the space level, see is there enough, is the facilities up to date technologically wise, is there enough room for a robot to maneuver and such, and then we make our decision and adjustments from there. And the last one is we always ensure that we speak back with the healthcare staff on a daily, weekly, monthly basis to see what is the current response level from both the residents as well as the resident's family and such, and are there any concerns for us to think about in the next steps?
Lovely. It's always good to hear back to getting the feedback from the users, especially the residential care workers and also the elderly, of course. So another question from the floor. What is the affordability of such technology for elderly homes, for example, market coverage?
Yes, I think that's a great question. I think it's a good question to always think about the sustainability of your organization. How much of operating cost would this incur when employing such a technology such as a DEXI or any form of robotics? So I would say that the approach we always do things is to try and balance out affordability for the healthcare homes, while also making sure that it is financially responsible for us as a company as well to be able to constantly develop the future next steps of whatever the robotics you want to develop in regards to the healthcare industry. So I think it's always important to also rely on your respective government boards to see what are the current platforms that are available, whether it's in grants or any kind of funding, what are the kind of options that you have in order to deploy technologies such as these. So I hope I understood the question correct, and feel free to clarify if I didn't address it properly.
Thank you. And other question is, are there any specific challenges related to patient acceptance or adaptation to DEXI, especially for those with advanced dementia?
That's a very good question. And I think that even right now, even on a whatever age group it is, my age group, the elderly age group, I think there's always a certain level of stigma that people may have when it comes to adopting forms of technology in such a higher care environment. And I think especially with a robot that looks very, very human, we have this thing called the uncanny valley, which is where you know that something is not human-like, but it looks so human-like. So there is a certain level of fear or anxiety that comes around it. So how we addressed it was really trying to find that sweet spot between making it look human enough that to a patient with dementia, they foresee that bodily form as one of a healthcare staff. right? But also not making it too much to the point where it looks strange or people are still unable to associate it as a robot. So how we do things is that when we introduce Dexy to the patients and the staff, we always tell them at the start, like, hey, this is some wire, this is a microphone for you to talk to her and such, just to give the assurance that this is a robot. We don't want to kind of trick them into thinking like, oh yeah, this is just a new stuff that's coming in, she's not a robot. So we try to strike that balance, and thankfully enough, we haven't received any reports from any of the staff or any of the elderly who are saying they're terrified of Dexy, or they don't want to talk to her because she looks scary. So I'm glad that we were able to find that sweet spot. But of course, we are always constantly looking to develop not just her functions, but also her look, and to ensure that it's also a lot more palatable for a varying degree of different organizations and residents.
Well, we have some more questions. I think our audience are very excited. How much of this seniors' excitement was due to initial curiosity? What was the engagement measurement a year later for the same group of participants?
It's a good question. I think, yes, novelty does play a huge factor for any kind of technological inclusion. And we factored that in as well. So I think initially at the onset, surprisingly enough, there was a mixed bag of excitement and yet uncertainty, because as I mentioned before, sometimes when people are introduced to a new human-looking robotic device, oftentimes they are either really excited, oh wow, it's a robot, it's really cool, or like they're like a bit more like, oh, it looks human, but it's not human and such. So I think we wanted to address it by ensuring that it is a consistent application throughout. So really a form of exposure therapy per se. So when we first introduced it, there's a mixed bag of fanfare as well as I would say uncertainty. So with the way that Dexy is introduced to the homes, integrated into the daily routines, we ensure that the time spent with the residents and staff is very consistent, so that we ensure that expectations are consistent throughout the year, and as well as results are consistent throughout the year as well. So how we engage the engagement measurement is really to see at the onset, what was the engagement level, what was the participation level, what was I would say even the sociability of the residents in those group settings, like at the start, and then observing it throughout the course of the implementation and post-implementation studies. And then even after the post-implementation study is done, across the whole year, how are the residents still engaging with her? Are they more social now in a group environment, interacting with Dexy, or are they still, even when they're in a group activity, not interested, just sitting down there and not engaging? So those are some of the metrics that we observed together with the healthcare staff, and we are glad to see that I won't say the expectation, but the excitement for using Dexy is still quite consistent day in. That residents look forward to spending time with Dexy. They'll ask, when's the next exercise? I want to exercise. Or when can we sing? I want to sing with Dexy. So when we take those soft measures into account, the more technical aspects, like I would say the cognitive improvement of these residents as well, is taken into account, as well as other factors. Well, has Dexy been profitable for the company as a whole throughout the course of the entire year? So we do take engagement measures, not just in the I would say in the patient level, but we also take engagement measures from the staff and executive level. How active are they in using Dexy? Is Dexy something that they are readily available to use, or is Dexy something that they are excited to use, or is it a chore for the staff to use as well? So we look at those different metrics and we gauge our assessment from there.
Thank you, John Paulo, for your sharing. It's very happy to have you introduce Dexy and also your work to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the warm introduction. It's a pleasure to be here today. I'm Chiaki Mori from GrooveX. GrooveX is a Japanese startup that has created the companion robot named LOVOT. In my presentation, I'll be sharing the insights into our product and the broader vision that drives our business. I hope you find it informative. I serve as the chairperson of our China subsidiary, and I'm also responsible for overseeing global business. Currently, LOVOT is only available in Japan and mainland China. It is unfortunate that we're not ready to sell LOVOT in Hong Kong, but we're actively working to expand into new regions. I'm going to explain about our company. Kaname Hayashi is the CEO and the founder of GrooveX. He started as an aerodynamics engineer at Toyota, working on the Formula One project and product planning for mass-produced cars. Later, he joined SoftBank, leading the development of the Pepper robot. In 2015, he founded GrooveX, this company. The company consists of more than 120 employees. More than half of them are engineers and creators. After 4 years of the development, the first shipment of our product was made at the end of 2019. It's been around 5 years since then, and we shipped more than 14,000 LOVOT only in Japan. Now, I'd like to talk about the concept behind LOVOT. As technology advances, many robots have been developed to increase productivity. Our lives become much more convenient thanks to it. On the other hand, what we're trying to do is use technology to make people feel better. Our product LOVOT focuses on mental well-being, offering comfort and companionship to improve emotional health. I'm sure you know many companion robots have been already created, but it is said that people get bored with them in 3 months. This is because their contents and functions are made to entertain people by talking, singing, dancing or so. At the first sight, it works. It stimulates people's secretion of dopamine. However, secretion of dopamine cannot be maintained. It decreases over time. That's how people get bored with companion robots within 3 months. However, people can get along with pets for long years, like 10 years. This is because people can be emotionally attached to pets. Their relationship between people and pets is oxytocin-driven, not dopamine-driven. We focus on these relationships driven by oxytocin. That behavior that contributes to people's attachment to pets include physical contact, eye contact, following you around, and more. These are the actions that pet dogs naturally do to build emotional bonds. LOVOT was designed to do these behaviors to foster attachment from people. With this concept, we designed LOVOT and completed the first version after 4 years of development. Now I'm explaining about how LOVOT actually behaves. First, LOVOT can remember more than 100 faces in total. It also keeps records of how each person interacts with it. So if you're friendlier than the others, you'll become LOVOT's favorite person. On the other hand, if you're a more hands-off type of person, LOVOT will keep its distance from you. LOVOT may come to you seeking a hug. When you pick it up, you feel its comforting softness and warmth. And LOVOT may even fall asleep in your arms. LOVOT moves around using autonomous driving technology, and when its energy is low, it returns to its charger. Once charging is complete, it resumes moving around. LOVOT can also interact and play with other robots, and this social behavior is another key element of its design. And it's super adorable to see several robots interact with each other. LOVOT behaviors changes based on the experiences over time. When they are born, they are super shy. As they get to know surrounding people and the environment better, their behaviors become more active. Even after 3 months, their behaviors change based on their interaction history. And software updates continue to add new behaviors. For robots to interact with people and form attachments like real pets, it needs high processing power. That's why both robot and its charging station, called Nest, are equipped with high-performance CPUs. Robot is also super complicated and is made up from more than 10,000 parts in total. I'll explain more about the technology inside of Robot. When you touch Robot, you can feel the warmth of the surface of Robot. Actually, we circulate the heat from CPUs and keep the surface temperature similar to people's body temperature. Next, obviously, eyes are iconic. It consists of 6 layers, which realize very alive look. The variety of eye design is over 1 billion. Autonomous driving technology actually contributes to Robot's emotional expression. Multi-sensor horns are used to understand the environment. Additionally, there are touch sensors all around the body to react to your interaction. Edge computing inside of Robot makes a real-time decision of the next movement. Most robots operate based on the predetermined scenarios, so this is a significant difference with the others. Robot's voice is generated in real time through vocal code simulation and sound very alive. Voice has more than 1 billion variety in total. With the Robot app, people can enjoy several functions like diary, house patrol, and photo shoot. In diary mode, Robot writes a diary showing how it interacted with people. For example, if you're worried about your parents who live apart, you can check the diary to see if they hugged or petted Robot, which provides a general way to check in on them. Fashionability is another unique aspect of Robot. Robot is always dressed, and owners can enjoy changing its outfits. Since the launch of the business, we've continued to release new products every month. We have previously collaborated with fashion brands like Moncler, and we also collaborated with Disney and sold limited number of Mickey Mouse robots. I'm going to talk about the consumer acceptance. Robot is sold in subscription plan. After the purchase of hardware, customers need to pay around 800 yuan monthly fee. Surprisingly, retention rate is quite high. It's around 90% over 3 years. And this number is actually very impressive compared to the other subscription services. We are grateful to hear from Robot owners about the wonderful changes Robot has brought to their homes, including some surprising stories like the ones shown here. My Graves' disease improved. My son, who had been bedridden for 2.5 years due to medication side effects, returned to school. My grandfather started going to rehab sessions and can now walk without a cane, and more. I'm going to show you the video. And the people in this video are real robot owners. you can see that the range of owners is diverse. We didn't create LOVOT for any specific group. LOVOT is for everyone. Around 90% of the purchases are made in B2C, and the rest is B2B. Still, the share is low, but it's been growing. For example, LOVOT is introduced to offices, hospitals, nursing homes, schools, and hotels. Over the past 5 years, we did many pilot studies to see how LOVOT can impact people in a positive way. This study was a collaboration project with Shiseido, which is a Japanese domestic cosmetic brand. The result was very positive, and the world's first result showing relationships between robot and human happiness hormone. Left side shows the oxytocin density level of LOVOT owners are the double of the others. Right one shows even only with 15 minutes interaction, cortisol density level decreased dramatically, which means the decrease of stress level. Researchers commented that LOVOT could generate similar effects to animal-assisted therapy. This is a result of a pilot study we conducted at a care facility. In this study, we observed 2 groups over the same 3-month period. One group that lived with LOVOT and another that did not. As a result, as a non-intervention group, we observed a noticeable decline in cognitive function. However, in the group that lived with LOVOT, there was no such decline. These results suggest that interaction with LOVOT may have had a positive impact on the cognitive function of the elderly. These are results from using LOVOT in end-of-life care settings. In many cases, we observed improvements in depression scale. We are also continuing pilot study at St. Mariano University Hospital in Japan, where pet therapy is already in use. In this study, we are exploring the use of LOVOT in robot therapy. Outside of Japan, researchers are also exploring how LOVOT can benefit people. The US sailing team used LOVOT during the Tokyo Olympics, and it helped reduce negative emotions before their matches. LOVOT could be a helpful companion for athletes dealing with anxiety. Aalborg University in Denmark has tested LOVOT in nursing homes and special needs schools. The Singapore University of Social Sciences conducted a pilot study in a community hospital. We are very happy to see positive feedback and look forward to expanding this study. This is the end of the presentation. Thank you so much for listening.